This isn't just a cold case. This is an open wound, a stain on the reputation of the most powerful law enforcement agency in the world. It is the only unsolved skyjacking in American history, and the man behind it, he simply vanished. DBCooper, forget everything you think you know about perfect crimes. This wasn't about a jewel heist or a bank robbery. This was a man dressed in a cheap suit, carrying a bomb, who on a dark, wet night in 1971 stole $200,000 and jumped out the back of a Boeing 727, never to be seen again. He didn't leave a body. He didn't leave a ransom note with his fingerprints. He left one thing, a tie, a clip-on cheap black tie, and that tie holds a secret the FBI missed for 5 decades. But that's not the most chilling part. The most chilling part is that he was a nobody before the jump, and an immediate legend after. The FBI called him DBCooper. The world called him an anti-hero. The question isn't just, where did he go? The real, terrifying question is, did the FBI, chasing ghosts and elaborate theories for 45 years, miss the one simple clue that would have led them straight to him? Portland, Oregon, the day before Thanksgiving. It was cold. Rain was slicking the tarmac at Portland International Airport. At 2:50 p.m., a man identified by ticket agents as Dan Cooper boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, bound for Seattle. He was unremarkable, a man in his mid-40s, approximately 6 feet tall. He wore a dark suit, a crisp white shirt, and that black clip-on tie. He ordered a bourbon and soda. He lit a cigarette. He looked like a tired businessman returning home. He settled into seat 18C, an aisle seat near the back of the plane. His demeanor was calm, controlled. Nothing about him signaled the terrifying, audacious event about to unfold. As the plane ascended, he passed a handwritten note to Florence Schaffner, the stewardess seated nearest him. She, assuming it was a lonely businessman's phone number, slipped it, unread, into her pocket. He leaned toward her. His voice, she later recalled, was quiet, polite, and completely devoid of panic. "Miss," he said, "you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." The note inside was precise, a detailed, chilling demand. He was asking for $200,000 in negotiable American currency, unmarked $20 bills. He wanted the money delivered in a knapsack, and crucially, he demanded for parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve. Schaffner, now visibly shaken, followed his instructions. She went to the cockpit. The pilots immediately contacted the control tower in Seattle. This was not a drill. This was a man holding 42 people, passengers and crew, at gunpoint, or rather at bomb point 10,000 feet in the air. The demands were met without negotiation. The FBI and local police scrambled. They had little choice. The lives of everyone on that plane were in the hands of this calm, suited man in seat 8CC. The 727 circled above Seattle-Tacoma Airport for over 2 hours, burning fuel, waiting for the ransom and the parachutes to be secured. Finally, the plane landed. Cooper instructed the pilot to keep the cabin lights off. A Northwest Orient employee delivered the knapsack of cash and the parachutes. Once the exchange was complete, Cooper released the passengers and 2 of the flight attendants. Schaffner and the remaining crew watched, terrified. As Cooper laid out his escape plan, his instructions to the remaining crew were meticulous, the product of detailed, almost military planning. The plane was to refuel and then take off, heading for Mexico City. The altitude was to be kept below 10,000 feet. The landing gear was to remain down, flaps set at 15 degrees, and the cabin was to remain unpressurized. These were the settings for a safe, low-speed jump. At 7:40 p.m., Flight 305 was airborne again. Only the cockpit crew, a flight attendant, and the skyjacker remained. As they flew south, somewhere over the dense, cold woods of southwestern Washington, Cooper did the unthinkable. He tied one of the reserve parachutes around the knapsack of cash. He moved toward the aft staircase, the famous air stairs, at the back of the Boeing 727. At approximately 8:13 p.m., the cockpit crew, suddenly noticing a warning light flash on their instrument panel, realized what was happening. Cooper had manually lowered the aft stairs. A fierce gust of wind ripped through the depressurized cabin. Then there was nothing, no sound, no struggle. He was gone, somewhere between Seattle and Reno, over the rugged, dark terrain near Ariel, Washington. Dan Cooper, or DBCooper, as the FBI incorrectly named him in a press release, had jumped into the freezing, rainy night. He vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the most daring, audacious, and perfectly executed crime in the history of air travel. The plane landed safely in Reno. The crew confirmed it. The skyjacker and the money were gone. The mystery began that night, a mystery that would consume millions of dollars in investigative resources, dominate headlines for decades, and haunt the FBI until they were finally forced to close the official case 45 years later. The crucial fact: the FBI had been outsmarted. The initial response was an immediate, embarrassing failure. They had a profile of a tired businessman, but they were dealing with a ghost. And the first, most critical moments of the investigation were bungled beyond belief. That's where the legend of DBCooper truly cemented itself. The moment Flight 305 touched down in Reno, the truth hit the FBI like a physical blow. They had been played. The skyjacker was gone. The $200,000 ransom was gone. The only things left were the witnesses, traumatized, exhausted, and confused, and a gaping hole in American aviation security. The initial response was not a coordinated investigation. It was a chaotic scramble. DBCooper had not been caught in a moment of panic. Every action, from the moment he boarded the plane to the specific technical instructions he gave the pilots for his jump, suggested a man who was calm, intelligent, and highly trained. He did not leave easily identifiable prints. He did not talk about his life or motives. He simply executed his plan with chilling efficiency. The FBI was immediately faced with a vacuum of information. They knew he was a man in his mid-40s. He wore a suit and carried a briefcase. He had detailed knowledge of the Boeing 727, particularly the aft air stairs. He possessed sophisticated parachute knowledge, not just how to jump, but which settings were required for the plane to fly safely at a low altitude. This was not the work of a desperate amateur, but the FBI, hampered by the primitive investigative tools of the early 1970s, focused on the most immediate, fleeting details, trying to chase the money, rather than understanding the mind of the man they were hunting. The skyjacking quickly became a major international incident. The FBI, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, and multiple local police departments were all involved, and the lack of a clear suspect or direction led to immediate interagency friction. This was the height of skyjacking hysteria in the U.S. Between 1968 and 1972, there were over 130 incidents. The pressure to catch Cooper was immense. However, the FBI's initial flawed profile, that of a desperate criminal who would quickly make a mistake, proved disastrous. The FBI made a critical error in their early search efforts. They focused their initial ground search on the wrong area. Why? Because the pilot's initial estimation of where Cooper jumped was based on assumptions, not hard data. Here's the stunning reality of the failure: the drop zone mistake. The FBI believed Cooper jumped over a specific point in a rugged, mountainous area near Mount St. Helens. They launched the largest manhunt in U.S. history, flooding the woods with hundreds of agents and local police. This was based on the plane's flight path and speed, but the coordinates were off. Cooper was likely blown miles off course by high winds, making the entire initial search effort an expensive, futile exercise. The parachute flaw. Cooper requested for parachutes. The FBI provided 4, 2 of which were dummies or training models intentionally not functional in case he forced a hostage to jump with him. Cooper, despite having only moments to inspect them, selected the 2 functional main parachutes and avoided the 2 dummies. This detail was a powerful clue, but the FBI initially interpreted it as luck. They missed the terrifying implication. This man knew exactly what he was looking for. He knew military or advanced skydiving gear. The clip-on tie. This tiny, mundane object became the most valuable piece of evidence. It was cheap, black, and clip-on. Cooper left it on the seat, likely because it would flutter in the wind and interfere with his jump. The FBI collected it, they bagged it, they logged it. But in 1971, forensic science was decades away from understanding the treasure they held. The tiny, microscopic clues hidden within the cheap polyester fabric were ignored, dismissed as simple detritus. This brings us to the most frustrating aspect of the entire case: the FBI's lack of long-term perspective. They were playing a short game, hoping for an immediate catch. Cooper was playing a long game. After the immediate manhunt failed, the FBI retreated. The case did not die. It entered a frustrating stasis. The agents involved, often working tirelessly on thin air, developed increasingly elaborate theories about Cooper's true identity and motivation. They searched for a man with a deep-seated grudge against Northwest Orient, a disgruntled Air Force pilot, or a former paratrooper. They looked for men who had recently developed sudden wealth or had gone missing. They followed leads to Portland, to Seattle, and even across the country. Every new lead, every strange coincidence was a dead end. The mystery of the $20 bills, the true irony, is that the money itself was a potent, ticking time bomb. The FBI had the foresight to photograph every single $20 bill in the $200,000 ransom package. The bills were numbered sequentially. They were unmarked currency, but their serial numbers were logged. They had created a monetary fingerprint, hoping the bills would resurface in circulation. They waited, they watched, they contacted banks, casinos, and businesses nationwide. The results were devastatingly low. Only one major piece of evidence related to the money ever surfaced, and it happened almost a decade later, the Tina Bar discovery. In 1980, a boy named Brian Ingram, vacationing with his family along the Columbia River at a location called Tina Bar, found a rotting package of $5,800 in $20 bills. The bills were positively identified by their serial numbers as part of the Cooper ransom. The FBI, electrified, descended on the site. This discovery was supposed to be the breakthrough. It was the only confirmed physical piece of evidence besides the tie. But it only deepened the mystery. Why Tina Bar? The location was over 20 miles from the initial assumed drop zone. How did the money get there? Was Cooper injured and dropped it? Or did the currents of the Columbia River carry it there? The $194,200 question. If $5,800 was found, where was the rest of the $194,200? Cooper may have been a skilled planner, but he was certainly not a master nuttier. Did the cash bundle break apart upon impact? Or did he successfully pocket the majority? The FBI became obsessed with the hydraulics of the Columbia River, conducting complex tests with die and money replicas. They were chasing the currents, trying to reverse engineer an 8-year-old river event. The core identity of Cooper remained elusive. The discovery of the cash was a brief shot of adrenaline in a case already in deep hibernation. Confirmed the crime was real, the money was real, and the man was gone. But it failed to connect them to the man in the suit. It served only as a reminder of the colossal failure of the initial manhunt. This initial failure, the bungled ground search, the misinterpretation of his parachute expertise, and the inability to process that one cheap piece of fabric, set the stage for the next 4 decades of frustration. The most important clues, the ones that truly contained his identity, were completely overlooked due to the technological blind spot of the 1970s. After the initial chaotic search failed, the FBI retreated to the one tool they had left, the profile. The man who walked off that plane was not a madman. He was highly organized, calculating, and possessed specialized knowledge. The FBI's Behavioral Science Unit, the same group that hunts serial killers, began to paint a picture of DBCooper. The FBI's core profile, a disgruntled insider, the working theory was clear. Cooper was a local man, likely from the Seattle or Portland area. He was someone with a deep personal knowledge of the aviation industry. the pilot or paratrooper. He knew the Boeing 727 intimately, specifically the mechanics of the aft air stairs and the optimal flight configuration for a parachute jump. This pointed heavily toward a former paratrooper, a disgruntled airline employee, or a pilot. The emotional driver. His demands, the money, were purely transactional, but his method was aggressive and calculated. The profile suggested a man driven by revenge, desperation, or severe financial trouble, possibly harboring a grudge against the airline or authority figures in general. The appearance, the suit, the tie, the calm demeanor. He was an individual who valued control and blending in. He was not erratic. Using this core profile, the FBI meticulously investigated hundreds of credible candidates. They pursued dozens of dead ends, but 4 names rose above the rest. They were the men who fit the profile too perfectly, or whose actions after the hijacking defied explanation. Suspect 1, Richard McCoy Jr., the doppelganger. Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. was the man who, for a brief period, the world believed was DBCooper. He was an Army paratrooper, a Vietnam veteran, and a former Mormon Sunday school teacher. He was also a helicopter pilot and a demolitions expert. McCoy's profile was almost too good to be true. He loved excitement and had a history of reckless behavior. The connection was not just theoretical. 5 months after the Cooper jump in April 1972, McCoy committed an identical crime. He skyjacked a United Airlines 727, demanded $500,000 and 4 parachutes, and jumped out the aft air stairs near Provo, Utah. He even left a handwritten note strikingly similar to Cooper's. The key difference: McCoy was sloppy. The FBI caught him days later. The evidence was overwhelming. He was found with the ransom money and the parachute, and the note was traced to him. 4 years, the FBI, and a popular book, DBCooper. The real McCoy insisted he was the man. He was the perfect fit. The problem: McCoy claimed he was not Cooper. More importantly, witnesses on Flight 305 said Cooper was in his mid-40s, while McCoy was only 29. Furthermore, McCoy was reportedly having Thanksgiving dinner with his family in Utah on November 24, 1971, the date of the Cooper skyjacking. The alibi was strong enough for the FBI to eventually rule him out as the original Cooper, though his copycat crime proved the method was executable. McCoy's story is a terrifying footnote. He escaped prison using a fake gun, only to be killed by an FBI agent in a subsequent shootout. He lived and died a criminal legend, but not the criminal legend. If Cooper was not McCoy, then the FBI was looking for someone who was just as skilled, but far more disciplined. Suspect 2, Robert Rackstraw, the dirtbag theory. Robert Wesley Rackstraw was a name that haunted the case for decades. Rackstraw was a former U.S. Army Green Beret, trained in parachuting and tactical operations. He was a helicopter pilot and demolitions expert, all qualities matching the core profile. He had a volatile background, including being discharged from the military for lying and stealing. He had also faced legal trouble for check fraud and possession of explosives. Crucially, he had ties to the Pacific Northwest. Rackstraw was the focus of a massive media push in the late 2010s. The theory was compelling. A disgruntled, dishonorably discharged veteran with the skills to pull it off. He was known for being manipulative and a master of disguise. The problem: the evidence against Rackstraw was primarily circumstantial. While he fit the skills profile perfectly, the FBI never found irrefutable physical proof connecting him to the tie, the plane, or the money. They questioned him multiple times and were never able to hold him. The case against Rackstraw finally withered after the FBI officially closed the investigation in 2016, citing a lack of resources and a shift to other national security priorities. Suspect 3, Ted Hall, the quiet engineer. This is one of the more recent and perhaps most disturbing theories. Ted Mayfield Hall was a nuclear engineer who worked for a defense contractor in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hall was a man obsessed with money and security. He was also an avid amateur skydiver with a technical, meticulous mind. The theory suggests Hall needed the money to fund his increasingly elaborate security and survival preparations during the height of the Cold War. The evidence connecting him is highly technical. The word count: Hall's handwriting was similar to the note Cooper passed to the flight attendant. The tie. Forensics later analyzed the tie and found traces of pure titanium and rare earth elements. These materials were commonly used in nuclear and aerospace industries, a direct link to Hall's career as an engineer. The problem: Hall died in 2010, and the theory only gained traction after his death. His wife, Marie, confessed that Hall had told her on his deathbed that he was involved in the skyjacking, but offered no concrete details. This confession remains unverified, leaving a massive question mark. Was it a genuine, dying confession, or the rambling of a fading mind? The potential connection to the forensic evidence, the titanium, makes Hall a uniquely compelling suspect, bridging the gap between the 1970s event and 21st century science. Suspect 4, Kenneth Christensen. The airline insider Kenneth Peter Christensen was an employee of Northwest Orient Airlines, Cooper's chosen target. He worked as a purser and flight attendant, meaning he knew the inside workings of the 727 and the crew procedures perfectly. Christensen was a heavy drinker, a heavy smoker, and resembled the composite sketch. He was known for his quiet, meticulous demeanor, a man who valued control and anonymity. He also had a history of military service. The problem: the connection to Christensen is perhaps the most chillingly simple. His brother came forward after Christensen's death, revealing his massive, unexplained cash purchases, his deep-seated anti-corporate rage, and his sudden, unexplained move to the Washington area after the hijacking. The most potent piece of evidence is a detail about Cooper's voice. The flight attendant, Tina Mucklow, who spent hours with Cooper, described his voice as flat and unemotional. Christensen was known by his peers to have a voice with a noticeably flat tone. The FBI investigated Christensen but dismissed him early on, likely because his initial image didn't perfectly match the sketch. This raises the alarming possibility that the FBI, while hunting for a sophisticated ex-military genius, overlooked the airline insider, the very man who knew the plane the best. The ongoing frustration is that none of these men, though fitting the profile in different ways, provided that single, undeniable piece of evidence. The FBI spent decades chasing these figures, hoping for a clean, definitive answer. But the key to solving the case didn't lie in the psychology of the suspects. It lay in the microscopic details they had neglected for so long. The unseen blunders of the investigation, now compounded by time, were the true tragedy of the DBCooper case. The FBI case file on DBCooper was officially closed in 2016. This was not because they caught him, but because the Bureau could no longer justify dedicating valuable resources to the enduring ghost of 1971. The initial failure of the investigation had snowballed into a permanent defeat. But the true tragedy is this. The most vital evidence was not lost. It was simply unseen. The failure was not one of effort, but one of technological blind spot. The technological blind spot. The 1970s gap in 1971. The FBI relied on rudimentary techniques, fingerprinting, handwriting analysis, and witness testimony. They meticulously bagged every piece of evidence left on the plane, but they simply lacked the tools to understand the language of the microscopic world. The central, irrefutable piece of evidence, the silent witness left behind by the skyjacker, was the J.C. Penney clip-on tie. For decades, this tie sat in an evidence locker, treated as a mere accessory. Agents were searching for blood, for hair, for DNA. They failed to realize the tie was an industrial tricographic and forensic map of the man who wore it. Forensics Unleashed. The tie's secret when modern independent researchers and forensic scientists gained access to the tie, they employed tools that didn't exist in 1971. They subjected the tie to scanning electron microscopy and X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy. These instruments allowed scientists to analyze not just the material, but the particles of dust and debris embedded in the cheap polyester threads. The results were astonishing, revealing a microscopic life history of DBCooper. They found traces of pure titanium. This is a rare, highly specialized metal, not found in common consumer goods. Its presence strongly suggests Cooper worked in the aerospace or chemical industry, where titanium is used for high heat, high stress applications. Titanium dust is common in facilities handling jet engine components or specialized missile parts. This evidence ties Cooper directly to a sophisticated manufacturing or engineering environment, likely around Seattle, where Boeing's massive operations were centered. Rare earth elements. Elements like cerium, strontium, and sulfur were found. Cerium is used in specialized metallurgy and as an oxidizer in aerospace components. Strontium is used in military flares and specialized electronic tubes. These are not contaminants found in a typical office or home. They point to an individual with specific access to electronics manufacturing, nuclear power, or chemical refinement facilities. Furthermore, the specific concentration of these rare earths suggested he was handling or working near materials that had been processed using these compounds, possibly in the final stages of a manufacturing chain. bismuth, and other alloys. Traces consistent with the handling of certain primers or propellants, again pointing to a high-tech or military-industrial background. Bismuth, in particular, is sometimes used in specialized low melting point alloys and had applications in certain types of older ammunition primers, though the prevailing theory leans toward its use in advanced metal casting or shielding related to his employment. This analysis completely rewrote the profile. Cooper wasn't just a pilot or a paratrooper. He was an individual with unique access to highly specialized industrial environments in the Pacific Northwest. This connection instantly narrowed the suspect pool from anyone who can jump to anyone who worked in a specialized Boeing or defense contractor plant in 1971. This is the ultimate heartbreaking blunder. The FBI had the key to Cooper's identity, a geographic and industrial map, in their hands, but they couldn't read the script until the man was likely dead or too old to prosecute. The psychological blinding, the Hollywood profile beyond the technological limits. The FBI suffered from a psychological blinding. They were looking for a dramatic figure, the rogue pilot, the disaffected veteran. The agents were primed to find the excitement of a military man, a Hollywood-esque figure of rebellion. They assumed the man who pulled off such an elaborate escape must have an equally complex motive and personality. This led to errors in their initial profiling. The overemphasis on military skill. While Cooper's skills were evident, the focus on former military blinded them to the possibility of an airline insider who simply spent time around the mechanics of the 727, like Kenneth Christensen. His intimate knowledge could have been gained simply through years of quiet observation as a Northwest Orient employee, not necessarily combat training. This is the difference between a theoretician and a practitioner. The exclusion of simplicity and routine. The investigators were so fixated on the difficulty of the jump that they missed the simplicity of his preparation. Cooper chose a clip-on tie because it was expedient, easy to remove for the jump without fuss. He chose Flight 305 because it was a routine, short-hop flight, perfect for a fast, low-altitude exit before the ground crew could regroup. The FBI missed the subtle clues of routine and planning, instead chasing the grand, dramatic narrative. The flaw in witness bias. The flight attendants' descriptions were crucial, yet potentially flawed. Under extreme stress, witnesses tend to exaggerate dramatic features and misremember simple details. The focus on the composite sketch, which some agents considered highly inaccurate, led them to quickly dismiss suspects like Christensen who didn't exactly match the drawing, prioritizing an artistic rendering over the forensic facts provided by the tie. The enduring legacy of errors. The legacy of the DBCooper case is a history of enduring errors. The flawed search and logistical failure. The initial error in calculating the drop zone was compounded by a crucial logistical failure. The agents arrived in the search area days later, hampered by weather and poor coordination. Furthermore, the $20 bills were not immediately circulated for tracking. The FBI initially held them back, hoping for a direct ransom exchange, a critical delay that allowed Cooper to potentially clean or dispose of the cash easily. This meant that the monetary fingerprint was only fully deployed after the trail had gone cold. The failure of documentation. Early FBI files were incomplete and sometimes inaccurate. making it difficult for subsequent generations of agents to follow the original leads. Crucial interviews and pieces of peripheral evidence were poorly indexed or even lost in the transition between decades. The parachute mistake. The initial analysis of the parachutes, that Cooper had simply been lucky in avoiding the dummy parachutes, was a profound misjudgment of his expertise. A true parachute expert would never trust a military surplus chute without a close inspection, which Cooper clearly performed. Had the FBI immediately recognized this level of expertise and cross-referenced it with airline employees trained in parachute emergency procedures, which many were, the search would have been focused much sooner. The sheer audacity of the crime was its ultimate defense. It was so bold, so unique, that it defied the standard police manual. The FBI searched for a dramatic villain in the spotlight, but Cooper was a man of the shadows, whose true identity lay hidden in the dust of his cheap slip-on tie. This brings us to the present. The FBI is officially out. The case is cold, but modern techniques, specifically advanced DNA analysis, still hold the ultimate promise of closure. The mystery isn't over. It's simply awaiting the final, tiny piece of evidence to speak its truth. On July 12, 2016, the FBI officially closed the DBCooper investigation. The case, File 89A, HQ 3351, remained officially unsolved. The Bureau stated that while they would review any new evidence presented, the case would no longer be actively investigated. The man who jumped out of a plane 45 years earlier had won. But the closing of the case did not end the mystery. It only fueled the enduring enigma, the allure of the unsolved. Cultural touchstone. Why does the name DBCooper still resonate 5 decades later? The story transcended true crime and entered American folklore. Cooper became a symbol of rebellion against the system in a time of corporate distrust and anti-Vietnam War sentiment. A man who beat the FBI and got away with the cash became an unwitting and a hero. The legend. He was depicted in movies, books, songs, and even video games. The image of the man in the suit, plunging into the dark, rainy night, is an indelible cultural touchstone. The perfect crime. The fact that he used a method, the aft air stairs, that was soon disabled by the FAA after the incident, cemented the idea that he achieved the impossible just before the window closed forever. The mystery feeds the imagination. Was he an escape artist, a genius, or just a lucky, desperate man? The theories about his fate are as numerous as the years the case remained open. The fatal theory. Many experts believe Cooper never survived the jump. The harsh weather, the 15-degree flaps, which would have meant a turbulent exit, the freezing temperatures, and the dense, rugged terrain of the Pacific Northwest made survival highly improbable. He likely died on impact or succumbed to hypothermia. The finding of the Tina Bar money in 1980 could be evidence of his death, with the cash being washed downriver. The survival theory, and the double bluff. Others believe he was so highly trained that he landed safely, quickly disposed of the money, and simply returned to his quiet, anonymous life. If he were indeed an aerospace professional, like the tie evidence suggests, he would have known exactly where he was and how to survive the elements briefly. The quiet life, not the dramatic death, is his true escape. Modern forensics. The final clue, the key to solving the case, no longer lies in tracking down old leads or digging up riverbanks. The key lies in the tiny fragments left on the tie, the DNA evidence. When the FBI initially analyzed the tie, they found two key sets of biological material. A single male DNA sample from the knot area, likely Cooper's. Several partial DNA samples from the clip area, possibly touch DNA. However, the technology in the early 2000s couldn't extract a complete, usable SNP, single nucleotide polymorphism, profile suitable for genealogical databases. The current effort. Independent cold case teams, and even some former FBI agents, continue the work. They are betting everything on the power of modern forensic genealogy. If they can extract just enough DNA from the tie's particles, perhaps by using advanced techniques like massively parallel sequencing, they could upload the profile to public DNA databases, linking Cooper to distant relatives, much like the Golden State Killer case was cracked. The hope is that one of the cold case suspects, Rackstraw, Christensen, or Hall, will eventually be confirmed by their genetic proximity to the DNA found on that cheap clip-on tie. The evidence is waiting. The science is ready. It's only a matter of time and resources before the tie speaks its final truth. The true legacy. The blind spot. DBCooper's legacy is the ultimate example of the limitations of traditional police work when facing a truly original mind. The FBI was hunting for a desperado, but they were defeated by a meticulous, anonymous planner who had one terrifying advantage: specialized knowledge. The FBI spent 45 years chasing a shadow, while the identity of the culprit was literally clinging to a piece of polyester fabric in their evidence locker. It was the FBI's biggest blind spot, a failure to look past the dramatic headlines and focus on the cold, hard, microscopic science. The perfect crime was not perfect because the plan was flawed. The perfect crime was perfect because the investigators were technologically and psychologically unprepared to read the clues he left behind. Whether Cooper walked away with the money or died on impact, the fundamental question remains: who was the man in the suit? Was he a Green Beret, a nuclear engineer, or an airline purser? We have his profile. We have the trace evidence. We have the DNA. The search is over for the FBI, but the digital hunt for DBCooper has just begun. The key is now in the hands of the public, in the data of genealogy. If you have specialized knowledge of the aerospace industry in the Pacific Northwest circa 1971, or if you have any information, no matter how small, that links to the names you've heard today, the time to speak up is now. The ultimate cold case is only one final scientific breakthrough away from being solved. What do you think happened to DBCooper? Tell us in the comments below.